Good morning and welcome to the order of Monday morning. I'm a 76-year-old man. I'm a grown up. I'm not supposed to do stuff like that. Anyway, good morning. I hope you had a good weekend, or at least an interesting weekend. I hope you're still here. I was going to, over the last couple of days, make it a little announcement. Uh, I'm on Facebook a lot, okay? Facebook's very important to me, to my work, it's how I reach uh, most of my reading and my studies audience, okay? I have no plans on leaving Facebook. Many of my little talks with you every day are also recorded and put on Facebook. I mean, on YouTube. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. So first of all, I have no plans to change that in the foreseeable future. But what I'm thinking, and what a lot of us are thinking, that the future is not very foreseeable, and that there may come a time when I will need another platform, okay, to keep in touch with all of you and everything else. Uh, So if you are or are intending to go to Blue Sky, uh, to tell you, now I'm on Blue Sky and I invite you uh, in preparations for unforeseen events. Um, that may be the only way we keep in touch. Uh, for you to please friend me or follow me or whatever it is you do, because I'm not familiar with the mechanics of it or what I can and can't do on it. But I do know that I have a little Blue Sky account, and I've got a few friends that have found out about it and are following me. Now, I don't check it every day. I'm not doing anything on it like I'm doing on Facebook at the moment, but I'm just in case it's sort of in my back pocket there. And if you're on it, uh, I invite you, I invite all of you to follow me also on Blue Sky in case uh, ever in the future I may need to make that that turnover. Does that make any sense? And I know nothing about it, so if any of you could help me with it, I don't have a lot of time on my hands right now to uh, spend doing much on it. But I think you can just, you know, follow me, and you're already there. So that's my public service announcement. So uh, watching the the news and the world situation such as it is, we see how radically uh, fast society can change almost in a blink of an eye, and it's very surreal. Okay, I'm 76 years old, and I've seen a lot. Okay, uh, when I remember as a child, and I remember very far back in my childhood, uh, when Harry S. Truman was the president, And I was raised during the Cold War period. And I was raised in just sort of a terribly white and terribly middle class small town in Nebraska. Okay, and I went to a school that was built in the 1920s, and it looked just like a beautiful Andy Hardy. You probably don't know who that is. So in a sense, the society I grew up in was about 30 years behind the modern times even then. So Constance and I are very comfortable with music and culture and furniture and things like that of the 1920s and 30s and 40s, because the adults around us were still sort of swimming around in that environment. And so we have a unique point of view on life, and we can't expect everybody to identify with what we always considered polite society, because most of you have been raised in another environment other than that. So, but I was very influenced by reading, even in grade school. Okay, we'd get this like a weekly reader, a little newspaper news, a little school newsletter kind of thing, but it went all over the school system. And they had books, and you could order books, and it was fun to order books, and you'd look at the weekly reader and pick books. And even in grade school, you could get Fahrenheit 451, you could get 1984, because they were considered classics. Okay, and so I was kind of familiar with kind of science fiction-y type stuff, and I was familiar with that, and it sort of scared me, this dystopian society of a future nightmarish world. Yeah, and very much of what I'm seeing right now is unfolding much like that. Now, I titled today's talk Crowley Goes to Atlantis, or something like that. Crowley in 1913 wrote is like a little book. Okay, it was a long essay, but a little book, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you at all, just a taste of it. And I don't know about you, but I love Crowley's work. I love his magical work. I love his received works, his channeled works, the Holy Books of Thelema, and the Vision and the Voice, and things like that. But it's almost like, uh-oh, have I been on all this time? Because it just says my internet has been restored. Gee, have I been on all this time? Oh, somebody's asking me what's my handle on Blue Sky. I think it's just Lon Milo DuQuette, or you might just not put a space between it, just Lon Milo DuQuette. Okay. But anyway, it says, check my internet description. I don't even know if I'm on here. So I'm going to dismiss that. Let's see. I'm going to check. I'm going to ask somebody to confirm that I'm still on. William Manzi, are you still there? Can you leave me a little comment? Yeah, I'm on. Thank you, Laura. Laura. Okay, I'm back on because I was about to share with you a little bit of Crowley's thing on Atlantis. And it's so Crowley, there's such good stuff in it, but it's his fantasy world. I don't know if I want to crawl into Aleister Crowley's head for a fantasy story. But he wrote this in 1913, okay, 9 years after the Book of the Law. But here's his foreword that he wrote to it. And he wrote this in 1913 when he was throwing together his autohagiography, Confessions. In particular, there is a short novel, The Lost Continent, purporting to give an account of the civilization of Atlantis. Sometimes I feel that this lacks artistic unity. At times, it is a fantastic rhapsody describing my ideals of utopian society. Yikes. But some passages are a satire on the conditions of our existing civilization, while others convey hints of certain profound magical secrets or anticipations of discoveries in science. So he wrote that in the summer of 1913. And if you have the Confessions of Aleister Crowley, that's on page 730. Now, if you're familiar with Gulliver's Travels, you see a certain amount of that in Gulliver's Travels too. It's a fantasy, it's a novel, it's entertaining, but it's making fun of the Lilliputians and the Blefuscusians. He's poking fun at the political situation of the day too. So Crowley is saying he's doing that here. Okay, here's how it starts out. Last year I was chosen to succeed the Venerable KZ, who had it in his mind to die. That is, to join them in Venus as one of the 7 heirs of Atlantis. And I have been appointed to declare, so far as it may found possible, declare the truth about that mysterious lost land. Of course, no more than 1/7 of the wisdom is ever confided to one of the 7, and the 7 meet in council but once every 33 years. But its preservation is guaranteed by the interlocked systems of, quote, dreaming true, unquote, and of, quote, preparation of the antinomy, unquote. The former, dreaming true, almost explains itself. The latter is almost inconceivable to normal man. Its essence is to train a man to be anything by training him to be its opposite. At the end of anything, it turns out to be its opposite. And that opposite is thus mastered without having been soiled by the labors of the student, and without the false impressions of early learning being left upon the mind. Would you like to hear that again? Its essence is to train a man to be anything by training him to be its opposite. At the end of anything, think they, it turns out to be its opposite, and the opposite is thus mastered without having been soiled by the labors of the student and without the false impressions of early learning being left upon the mind. I myself, for example, had unknowingly been trained to record these observations by the life of a butterfly. All my impressions came clear on the soft wax of my brain. I had never worried because the scratch on the wax in no way resembled the sound it represented. In other words, I observed perfectly because I never knew that I was observing. So if you pay sufficient attention to your heart, you will make it palpitate. I accordingly to a description, I accordingly proceed to a description of the country. That's his foreword. I'm not sure he expected anyone to read further than that. But this is what got me thinking on my walk today, because the news was so incredibly surreal. A real serious discussion of the return of slavery. Or at least the exception from a Christian nationalist point of view. And these are from people now in very responsible government positions. It is a total breakdown of much of which has been thought of as societal norms, and it almost is bordering on science fiction dystopian concepts. And so where did Crowley talk about something? It's in this. Okay, here's just the beginning of chapter 1, and it's about Atlantis. Of the plains beneath in the plains beneath Atlas and its servile race. Atlas is the true name of this archipelago. Continent is an altogether false term, for every house or mountain peak was cut from its fellows by natural, though often very narrow waterways. The African Atlas is a mere offshoot of that range. It was the true Atlas that supported the ancient world by its moral and magical strength, and hence the name of the fabled globe bearer, Atlas. The root is the Lemurian Tla, or Tlas, black, for reasons which will appear in due course. A is the feminine prefix, derived from the shape of the mouth when uttering the sound. I won't. A is the feminine prefix derived from the shape of the mouth when uttering this sound. Black woman is therefore as near a translation as one can give it in English. The Latin has a closer equivalent. Talk about digressions, okay. The mountains are cut off, not only from each other by the channels of the sea, but from the plains at their feet, by cliffs naturally or artificially smoothed and undercut for at least 30 feet on each side in order to make access impossible. These plains had been made flat by generations of labor. Vines and fruit trees growing only on the upper slopes. They were devoted principally to corn and to grass pastures for the amphibian herds of Atlas. God, what a great name for a band. Lon Milo and the Amphibian Herds of Atlas. One night only. Okay. This corn was a kind of now unknown flourishing in seawater. And the periodical flood tides served the same purpose as the Nile in Egypt. Enormous floating stages of spongy rock. No trees of any kind grew anywhere on the plains, so wood was unknown. So it was floating stages of spongy rock that supported the villages. These were inhabited by a type of man similar to modern Caucasian race. They were not permitted to use any of the food of their masters, neither the corn nor the amphibians, nor the vast supplies of shellfish, but were fed by what they called, quote, bread from heaven, unquote, which indeed came down from the mountains, being the whole of their refuse of every kind. The whole population was put to perpetual hard labor. The young and active tended the amphibians, grew the corn, collected the shellfish, and gathered the bread from the heavens for their elders. They were compelled to reproduce their kind. At 20, they were considered strong enough for the factory, where they worked in gangs on a machine combining the features of our pump and treadmill for 16 hours of the 24. This machine supplied Atlas with its ZRO, Z-R-O, or power, of which I shall speak presently. And I'm not going to read it, but that ZRO was made of the whipped sweat of the people on treadmills. It contained their vital essence, their life force, okay? And it was whipped and distilled into this, to a power source, as if the labor itself was turned into energy, okay? Which could be exploited and used, okay. Any worker showing even temporary weakness was transferred to the phosphorus works, where he was sure to die within a few months. Phosphorus was the prime necessity of Atlas. However, it was not used in its red or yellow forms, but in a third allotrope, allotrope, a blue-black or rather violet-black substance known only in powder form that precipitated gold, harder than diamond, 11 times heavier than yellow phosphorus, quite incombustible, and so shockingly poisonous that in spite of every precaution, an ounce of it cost the lives, on average, of some 2,050 men. Of its properties I shall speak later. The people were left in utmost slavery and ignorance by the wise counsel of the first of the philosophers of Atlas, who had written, quote, "An empty brain is a threat to society." He had consequently instituted a system of mental culture comprising two parts. First part, there were four, some say 5 distinct races, each having sub-races, but the main characteristics were the same. Some allege the Portuguese and the English to be survivors of this or kindred stock. And the second category was the Zrad. Z-R-A-D. The ZR is drawn slowly. The lips are suddenly curled back in a sneering snarl. Zrad. The vowel sharply and forcibly uttered. It's disputed whether this word is connected with the Sanskrit Shri or holy. Okay. You can sort of see how he's carried on. And in 1913, if I'm not mistaken, I think we're all kind of familiar with his Crowley's chemical and mind-altering habits during that time. So I don't know how much time you can spend, but he's not exaggerating when he says there are tidbits of awesomely esoteric, what I would consider secrets. Some of it deservedly kept secret. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope I've stayed on. When I'm out here in the living room, sometimes I lose my internet connection. I don't know why that's happening all of a sudden. But anyway, once again, just in case, maybe years or other down the line, or I can figure out a way to augment my ability to reach you. And if you are already on Blue Sky, please follow me. And when I get on there and fiddle around, I'll try to see how it works. Anyway, that's it for the order of Monday morning. Tomorrow will be a parking lot Tuesday. Again, we'll have a borrowed car, and hopefully I can talk our friend Taryn James into being part of the action tomorrow. But that also means that it's likely we'll be starting at least just a few minutes later tomorrow. Yes, I'm bundled up. It's we can't. It froze. The bird bath was frozen solid this morning. We're not used to it, and this house is incapable of holding it. And our little space heaters and everything is sort of drying up our lungs. So it's overall better we try not to breathe that dry air all the time. Anyway, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Don't go to work at the Zero factory, okay, if you can possibly avoid it. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.